Nadszedł czas zmiany, przejścia do prawdziwego działania wszechświata. I nadszedł czas, aby zrozumieć, że używamy stanu materii, by osiągnąć poziom zrozumienia duszy człowieka. Teraz rozumiesz, być może, dlaczego Kreator wysłał swoich posłańców w imię tego, co miałeś. To oni przynoszą uszy, aby można było ich użyć, gdy nadejdzie czas Mesjasza. Mogę nauczyć duszę i przesłanie. Nie by się przeciwstawiać, ale poprzez ich zrozumienie, przez tych, którzy stali się Mesjaszami, aby dawać ze swoich dusz, aby ich elewować. Zadanie stało się łatwe. Szkoła jest tutaj i uczniowie są tutaj w oddaniu. Wtedy nie będzie żadnej walki między tym, co nazywają muzułmanami a chrześcijanami. Baranek i lew będą jeść i spać w tym samym gnieździe. Chrześcijanie i muzułmanie będą spać i modlić się w meczecie, w tym samym kościele, w imię ich dusz, nie w imię religii, które są używane do tworzenia tak wielu konfliktów, dla korzyści tych, którzy byli hiperaktywnymi dziećmi. Nadszedł czas, czas zmian jest tutaj. I jak powiedziałem, moje życzenie jest moim rozkazem. Jeśli pragniesz ujrzeć pokój, droga pokoju jest wyłożona bardzo wyraźnie. To dusza świadomości zbiorowej. Poprzez dawanie stworzy tą pozycję zmiany. Nic innego. W duszy człowieka nie ma długopisu. Jestem pewien, że po wejściu do społeczności uniwersalnej nigdy nie zobaczysz niczego zapisanego, ale równowagę pól duszy egzystencji. Staraj się być na tyle pokornym, aby nie stać się aroganckim w mocy, którą zrozumiałeś i posiadłeś. Inaczej wpadniesz w tą samą ścieżkę kościoła i meczetu. To jest to, co obiecaliśmy i to właśnie dostarczyliśmy. Musimy zrozumieć działanie duszy. I musimy zrozumieć, że dusza człowieka jest gwiazdą w kosmosie wszechświata. Jeśli porównamy duszę człowieka i tak wielu nas, 7 miliardów w jednym zbiorze, Ziemia jest jak galaktyka z tak wieloma gwiazdami. Kiedy patrzymy w głąb wszechświata, widzimy galaktyki z setkami milionów gwiazd. Podobnie jest z planetą Ziemią. Niesie 7 miliardów pięknych gwiazd, które są duszą człowieka. Niesie z sobą duszę tak wielu trylionów zwierząt, roślin i wszystkiego innego. Jeśli więc patrzą ci, którzy nie widzą fizyczności Ziemi i jej zawartości, co widzą? Widzą galaktykę z wielką ilością pięknych, świecących świateł. Każda według swojej siły. Każda zgodnie ze swoją pozycją. Niemowlę ma piękną duszę, podobnie jak staruszek. Dla tych niefizycznych, którzy nie widzą fizycznego wymiaru tej planety, ale widzą siłę pola, jesteśmy gromadami gwiazd. Ludzka rasa, każda pojedyncza dusza, nikt z daleka nie widzi. To jest dusza rybaka, to jest dusza kosmologa, to jest dusza prezydenta. Wszystkie świecą bez względu na fizyczność. To jest magia. Oto co nowa nauka musi przynieść człowiekowi. Kiedy patrzymy przez naszą duszę, widzimy tylko gwiazdy w innych duszach. I to jest przełom. To jest zrozumienie. Na tym właśnie polegają te wszystkie nauki. Dojście do dojrzałości następnego poziomu, aby zrozumieć daleki kosmos. Wszechświat jest ostrygą dla tych dusz, które służą. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy do wejścia w kosmos. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy, aby stać się częścią uniwersalnej społeczności, która została obiecana. Nigdy nie obiecywałem wam nieba. Zawsze obiecywałem wam elewację człowieka, aby przyłączył się do rodziny. A teraz macie klucz. To wy musicie otworzyć drzwi, aby zrozumieć, że mogę elewować duszę tych ludzi lub milionów innych dusz, że fizyczne życie na tej planecie zmieni się. Wtedy jestem godny bycia częścią społeczności uniwersalnej, by być, aby służyć, aby się rozwijać, by być tam, aby być częścią, że w cyklu życia wszechświata staje się w byciu częścią, staje się częścią totalności. Kiedy człowiek osiągnie ten punkt, pojawi się nowy wymiar w sile duszy człowieka, który jest poza wyobrażeniem zrozumienia życia fizycznego. To jest brama do otwarcia nowego życia w nowym wymiarze, co jest poza wyobrażeniem tego, co mogliście nazwać nowym początkiem, nowym cyklem, gdzie ten cykl niesie ze sobą źródło stworzenia życia we wszechświecie i unikosie. To jest elewacja duszy, aby służyć. Stała się kluczem. Nie tron życia fizycznego. Czas jest odpowiedni, nadszedł czas, aby człowiek przeszedł przez ten proces.
Witamy wszystkich na 434 warsztatach poszukiwaczy wiedzy w języku polskim. Dzisiaj mamy niedzielę, 24 styczeń 2021 rok. A tematem jest druga część 363 warsztatu. Jest to tłumaczenie od 1 godziny 29 minut do 2 godzin i drugi fragment od 2 godzin 20 minut do 3 godzin 11 minut 14 sekund. W tym fragmencie są takie krótkie przerwy, chyba po minucie ze dwie. A po warsztacie zapraszam do rozmów, zadawania pytań. Więc obejrzymy sobie. No dobrze, to zapraszam.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. I have a couple more questions in the Q&A. One from Thomas. Is your physical death the choice of your soul, that it is the proper time to transition?
In a way, the level of your soul strength in respect to its cage is set at the point of the first interaction of the egg and the sperm. You can change it by environmental changes through the evolution of the environment slightly, but not that much. Unless you go into the level of the soul, which can transmute from one to another, which then there'll be no time and no space when you can do that.
Okay, we have another question from Beatrice regarding the heart. When the heart, excuse me, when the heart hurts, is it the physical part or the soul?
Depends if you have a physical problem. Or is it the emotional in understanding the soul, interaction of the soul of physicality? What we feel in our heart as a pain is the interaction of the soul of physicality. Soul of the man does not feel pain as such. Understands wrong and right and where he has to be positioned. Understands pain not in the level of the physicality that we do in our heart through emotion.
Okay, we've got a, just get my list up here. We've got an attendee with their hand up. And it's one we're familiar with. Salamia has a hand up here, so I allow her to talk. Go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. I wanted just to clarify that in my mind was that soul and consciousness are the same, is logical, and I also feel it. But I asked on my team, Corona team from Romania, and some people said that it's not the same soul and consciousness. I also ask council universal.
Yes, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
What do you call consciousness and what do you call a soul? Consciousness is emotion. Soul is totality of what contains everything. If you are conscious, you decide what is right, what is wrong. It's part of the structure of the operation of the soul of the man in terms of the physicality. Consciousness is an emotional feeling, is not the soul. An emotional feeling, right or wrong, comes from the interaction between the soul of physicality and the soul of the man.
There are two words, conscious and consciousness. You are aware of something, and consciousness for me is the same like soul. It's fundamental.
No, consciousness,
Yes.
no.
No.
Consciousness, the way we understand it, is evaluation of the right or wrong, or what is correct and not. You are conscious of your conduct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it has an emotional relationship into understanding of it. And it's part of the interaction of the soul, and the soul of physicality is not part of the soul. It's the interaction of it. It's like mass. It's a byproduct of the interaction of two fields. You got to realize, when we speak about the soul of physicality and the soul of the man, is the interaction of four field forces, giving and taking, or gravitational and magnetical, of the soul of the physicality, and gravitational magnetic field of the soul of the man, like the sun and the earth. And different fields interaction, according to which one reaches strength, creates different outcomes of what we call emotion. And consciousness is that. We don't decide what our soul takes. We decide what is correct for our physicality. We are conscious of it.
So consciousness helps soul to be moral.
No,
Or
consciousness,
soul is moral.
soul of physicality to be moral, not the soul. The soul of the man is moral because it's independent. It changes its position even within the structure of the brain of the man according to the other souls. The soul of the man is not constant in the strength and in more or less what I call revolution within the structure of the physicality of the man. It maneuvers, it changes position, it changes its angle, it changes its speed of rotation according to what other souls do. And in that process, this is what the judgment comes. Then the soul of physicality has to not only interact with the soul of man, but accommodates what other souls have agreed for the physicality to reach that point. It's two independent but interacting. If you kill the man in hiding and nobody knows, where your soul of physicality knows and your soul knows, then the souls decide how to move you, how to maneuver the soul, that the physicality follows that maneuver, that it brings you for you to confess your crime. We've seen that in a very recent past. Where the soul moves to open the misconduct of the physicality. We see it in the present situation in the American administration. The soul moves. The souls move into one thing or another to bring the physicality in a position through the operation of the soul. In a way, your soul walks your soul of physicality for you to be seen, to be known, to be shown. What you've done wrong. It's if you understand it, we use the operation of the nations, as we all understand that, in the giving names and individuals. But if you look, the soul of the physicality of a government reflects the operation of the soul of the nation, and one responds into the other. And when one does wrong, they all go with it, and they all receive the same. If you work and understand the work of the creation, the way we do and the way we see, it's a very, very strange that one of the administration who killed more than any other administration during his operation is coming back to work. This time to correct what they've done wrong to many things during what they had to do. And why do we look at the leading nations on this planet? Because they set the scene for the rest. You will see the situations where world leaders will become answerable personally to their conduct, as we've seen in many other nations, where leading nations, leaders always have escaped with it. What we see in the past weeks, what's happening in the United States, is bringing the balance, as we've seen in other nations. People go through revolution and they go through bringing the leaders who've been unjust and not correct. Self-centered administrations always have brought disaster to their nations. And we've seen it with this and the present situation. If it was a small country in Africa, we had what we've seen in the United States in the past few weeks. It was something Africans do. Now one of the leading nations in the world has set the scene for literally abolishing leadership. And the men on the street are changing the position, not in administration. Every leader gradually becomes accountable on a daily basis to the people who they lead. As is in some writings, the time will come that no one will take what we call the crown of kingship, because it has such a heavy responsibility to be correct in every conduct.
Yes, it is written that no one would like to be a leader in a crisis situation. Yeah.
Not the crisis situation, even in the best situation. In crisis situations, somebody always take the lead to pass the crisis, as we do. Mankind is in a turmoil, and it needs to be led out of this position in a very fast way, but through intellect and science, to bring in science and technology to be the same. And at the same time, science, technology, and religion to be the same, all working on the same path. It's no use having a science and the religious leaders which use that science to develop weapon technology to be rulers, where science and technology which develop has to be the same for the purpose of peace. We've seen this in the past half decade, where religious leaders openly have entered into developing weapons for destruction of nations, as they were not of the same path. We've seen Vatican extensively involved in the evolution and development of new weapons. No single religion finances more in developing new weapon technology than Vatican, to make sure other nations are in war, that they can lead their way by views of the soul of the man. Why does Christian administration runs and controls and places biggest order ever for production of arms and weapons in Italy? Why does the Pope buys 9 million landmines to give as a gift to another nation to kill another? This is where the end of Christianity has come. where the religion is used to kill others.
Because the Vatican is a state. It's not.
The Vatican,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, it's in the name of the religion.
Yeah.
It's a business.
Of
And
course.
there's no business better pays than killing, because then people will pay to mourn for years. It's an investment, drip, drip for a long time, repayment.
Because
This is where the religions will have no place. Because now religion and science meet, and one understands the other, and there is no need for it, and there is no place for it. One of the biggest problems coming out of Corona is where mankind will lead itself to, as many weapon technology industries are not used. In a very short time, new technologies are overcoming Corona, not by vaccination, will be introduced by nations. As we read recently, the lockdowns have brought more damage than actually if there was no lockdown. We see it. Economies are becoming to a halt. Who's going to pay for it? And then they bring, who do we need to cut costs? What are the major costs? We all have injected, so major costs are the old pensioners. If they go, major expense of a nation will be cut. Then what is the next step? Those who are efficient and then contribute to evolution of a nation will be kept. To what extent do we go? And we allow leadership to extend to our extent of our lives.
But you know,
This is.
we Baha'is never
Can you
sell.
please? Can I ask
Buns.
you one thing? If you mention about the Baha'is once on these teachings, I have to ask you to be withdrawn. We do not go on every path of whatever. The principle of the knowledge counts, not where it comes from. We are not a platform for the Baha'is, Christians, or Muslims, or the rest. In so many ways, the understanding of the knowledge has to be that leads to evolution of technology, of the human race, evolution of the soul. In understanding the process of a technology, nations and religious leaders have to strive to create a condition of betterment for their citizens and for their followers. The way we do in the Keshe Foundation. Knowledge has to be free to allow the evolution of the soul to a higher order, not to be destroyed. A few years ago, around this time, when we were negotiating with Vatican for different ways and different structures, this was made very clear that the path of the Vatican, with the way it operates and the way we teach knowledge, cannot be on the same path. The foundation has had deep discussions with Vatican and people who work within the structure who are the decision makers. It was the same with other religions. Religions have to be a path for elevation of the soul of the man through understanding of new cycles, not for destruction of the others. The time of crusaders is over. The time of wars between religions is over, as they're all one. Now we understand we all have the intellect and the right to reach our Creator through understanding and the strength of our soul. There is no need for religions. It's the responsibility of religious leaders now, in any shape or form, to enlighten their followers that the new path has started. They can follow the path. If they are true men of religion, if they are true men of faith, we elevate their souls to reach that point. Be it the Pope, be it the religious leaders in the Islamic world, be it the ones, the rabbis and the Buddhists and the rest. It's them who have to bring their followers to understand a new cycle has started, where every man is equal in understanding the soul of the creation and nearness to him, not through their word and their say, just because they have a luxurious life to live because of the what we provide as donations and whatever else. It's the same with those who call themselves Illuminatis. If you have such a position of strength, it has to be used for betterment of the peace, not the tools of war to be able to control. The peace comes through elevation of soul of individuals, not control of the collective. We see a lot of movement in the past few weeks by Illuminatis trying to recruit Keshe Foundation leading people across the planet. And in so many ways, we see this as an infringement into a structure of the teaching of the Keshe Foundation, where we do not allow these things to take place. As we know, the leaders of the Illuminatis are sitting amongst you, and they consider every teaching we do, and they see our work as part of the way which they don't like to see. But if they are, and what they believe in is to bring equality and betterment of the life of the man, they have to strive to work the way we do. There is no choice. In fact, what it is if you are in that process, if you are part of the what I call the Illuminati's structure, you should strive to enlighten the people who you're trying to serve to understand the process of their own life. Not by you trying to create the masters and the rest of it that you can control further. And it's the same with the religious leaders. We have received a number of approaches by the Illuminatis, where they want the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers who are in a position of leading to get in touch with the Grand Master with WhatsApp, because they see the foundation as growing in a way to enlightening knowledgeable people that then they can control. As I said, the soul of the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers is not for sale. The same goes with Scientologists. They fail to overtake and take control of the Keshe Foundation because they see the Keshe Foundation as a structure to fulfill the promise of the leader in a physical way and scientific way. Scientologists have no science, and they look for the Keshe Foundation. And that's why we've seen so much trouble in recent past within the foundation, trying to resurrect people inside the foundation to take lead, to take position, to take the Keshe Foundation to Scientologists. and then destroy the foundation from inside. If you are a Scientologist, you have to accept the knowledge is there. There is no room for Scientology because the science of it is shared by the Keshe Foundation. It's the same with the world leaders and the same with the religious leaders.
But we
If
have
you-
to find common denominator, no, with all, and to work with all.
The common denominator, as I taught today, has been established. And it comes by enlightenment.
Yeah.
And it comes by enlightenment. You can now elevate the soul of a stone to understand, to teach, and elevate itself to anything it wants to, if the man desires so. Every pebble has a soul, and that soul has the capability to elevate. Not only the man. If a soul has created, that brings collection of fields of structures, or we call atoms, that soul has the capability to be elevated, be it the beast, be it the man, be it the stone. It's the soul which has to decide its position and elevation.
I understand your position because
We have no
totality is
position.
linked.
We have
Everything
no
is
position.
linked. And not position, I mean what you say. I understand very well because totality is totality. Everything is linked. If something is elevated, one
You
soul
see,
is elevated, everything will be elevated. No?
in a way, some people look at it that way. If you look in the past 12 months, in past 5 years, Keshe Foundation has been on the line for many organizations as they see us endangering their position, or as they see us, they want to use the Keshe Foundation for them to find new position and new structure. We explained about the Rothschilds, Illuminatis, Scientologists, and all the religious groups and political groups are within the structure of the Keshe Foundation. They're being brought in, and we accepted them with the open arm, but we keep an eye on all lots what they're up to. We have KGB officers as much as CIA officers in one of the highest positions in Keshe Foundation. We accepted them knowingly, and we nourish them knowingly. We don't say because you are there or that's the other one. We have people from Iran Central Intelligence to Sepah to CIA to people from Vatican and Saudi, what we call religious groups, all within the structure of the Keshe Foundation. We become an inclusive, and we all understand that there is one purpose: to unify the soul of the creation.
Of course.
And that's all the purpose we have. And what we don't talk, we teach technologies that all can reach that point. And this is where we differ. We allow people to elevate their own souls. We allow people to understand the position and the time and the place. At the moment, there's a huge struggle how Scientologists are fighting to take over the Keshe Foundation. And you can read it on the internet, how openly they're discussing it. Keshe Foundation is not for sale. It's a scientific organization. And nobody can take over it. The same with the Illuminatis. We've seen openly sending messages to a number of leading Keshe Foundations around the world, like they come in operation, they're watching them and they approach them. Even governments have gone into that business. We become a very, what I call tasty fish that everyone wants to swallow and become part of. And this is what I said to them. Open the door. We talk everything openly as we send the message to Rothschild. And they immediately backed off because they thought we do deals behind back doors. Keshe Foundation is an open structure for elevation of the soul of man through science and technology and the extension to life. We are not here to deliver a Maghreb unit. We are not here to deliver a power generator. These are the things we do that it brings comfort to the man in the physical dimension that he allows his soul to elevate. Even if you look at the Maghreb system, it's an energy for elevation of the soul if you know how to use it.
Yeah, I have to apologize because I make some remarks about my background spiritual.
No,
I didn't know. I apologize, but
no, there is no problem. We deal with it with every path of belief, but it has to be respected that we are all here. We might see some intrusion with others. We have a huge Iranian community and Islamic community within Keshe Foundation, which see the Baha'is as an opposite pole.
I know.
We are not here to irritate. The same we see with the Jews and the Muslims. We are an all-inclusive scientific organization. And with it, through science, we have found a path to the soul of what they like to call religion, the spirituality, as is the same. And this has to be kept and respected. We respect the office of all the religious leaders, being His Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran, to His Eminence Pope, and the others. But we are not there to create conflict, but we are there to even enlighten the priests and Ayatollahs and the Pope, that their soul find peace, and through that peace, they find peace for humanity. One of our purposes is to touch the soul of the leaders, as many of you have taken position to do, that through their understanding, through the teaching of the Keshe Foundation, understanding of the new science and technology, they lead their flocks to the path of the correct conduct of the soul.
It's a wise, very wise and genial way to make unity between all the people.
We carry the wisdom of the universe. We know how to handle.
Yes, it's a universal intelligence, which is consciousness, and it's, for me, it's intelligence. No. Also, intelligence has a soul inside. I don't know how we call, because we speak in words and reality doesn't have words. We don't have words for the reality outside of space and time. And it cannot beyond space and time.
As we say, it all depends on our, what I call, comprehension and level of understanding of totality.
What he's saying, that's my interpretation. So
I don't know how to interpret it.
I'm in trouble by trying to interpret it. Perhaps we could, what about the idea, is there an evolution of consciousness? Does consciousness evolve?
You see, it depends, as we just were discussing before, what we call consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you mentioned how consciousness can change and it warps and twists according to the others around it and so on.
Yeah, we become conscious of things according to how we see the work of the universe. And how we would like to judge it to be to our benefit. Consciousness is what we would like and how we've been brought up to understand values of life. A thief has a consciousness that is mine, I can take what I like. And another man thinks stealing is not correct. Consciousness is very much environmental dependent.
Okay, thank you. There's a question from Manez in the next question here in the Q&A. Hello, Mr. Keshe. In September of 1976, I and many others saw a UFO in the skies of Tehran, very visible. A smaller craft came out of the main craft, then they both disappeared. Question is, do they visit to help humanity?
When you go to a tourist site, do you go there to help the people, or are you going there for your own interest to see what is the beauty of the place? And Earth is another tourist location and destination.
I'm reminded that when humans were out discovering the planet in their ships and so on, they would find tribes and then try to help them in their own way, but sometimes their help was not the way they thought it would, or perhaps they deliberately infected other, native peoples and that kind of thing. But I think
but look at it. But let me come into you as you're speaking, Rick. Now we go to the moon, and moon has citizens, let's say. Do we intrude in their lives and teach them what we know on Earth? Or we become observer, as we don't understand the language and we see them as maybe inferior or maybe superior to our knowledge. We are not in that one day we go to space. Now we are in the space. We can go to moon, we are going to Mars. And with the new technology, go to other planets. What is the decision of mankind? Decision made by those who lead these kind of excursions with the backing of the human race. What is our policy? Are we going to intrude, or are we going to be observers, as it's not our job to intrude? We are in that position now. As a race, we have evolved, we have managed to leave home, we have traveled a number of times to the moon, we have vehicles on the surface of the Mars, hopefully by the wish of the American administration, 2030, they are working on the landing in next 10 years of first live man on the surface of Mars. The the proportion lab in NASA is very busy with it, using proportion plasma, trying to cut the 7-month strip to shorter time. What do? Now we become, in the first toddling steps, what is the decision of the Universal Council? As they're the ones who we follow and we obey. Are we allowed to intrude, or do we become tourists? We observe, we don't interfere, and we go. And maybe one of us decides to be kind or fall in love with somebody, with the one creature in that planet, and decides to take residence. It's not a fairy tale. We are in that position. No nation has made, no government has made, no United Nations has made the decision on this basis. Where the universal community has made the decision a long time ago. We stay observers. We do not intrude. These are the responsibilities which fall on the shoulder of the Universal Council. What is the decision for human race? How do we take it? And now with the new knowledge that we all know the same, in essence, what is our position? Cannot come by United Nations, because there is no nation to be united. They have divided and they've done more than before. But as a Universal Council, what is the decision? These are the things which will come forth very rapidly for all of us. And it's a decision of the Universal Council, how humanity will interact in these things. We heard a lot about Americans doing this and what's going to happen, but it's all hullabaloo. Because universal community will not deal with one nation. They interacted with one line, and it has brought the biggest misery to human race. And do you expect if you see a UFO, they come and say hello, whatever? No, we are just a tourist destination on the map of the universe. And we have seen reduction in the time of war than in time of peace, because they don't want their citizens to see such atrocities. You know, when you have a war in the country, the government issues a red light, nobody, no tourists to go into this area. It's done the same with the passengers of the universe. Earth is a red big circle around it because they kill each other. And we don't want to bring that into the universal community for people to see. They say, create peace in your nation, then we open the tourist information. It's like now, you say your country is clean, you can have tourists coming in. You clean the humanity from atrocities, killing and all the unjust things. Then we open openly Earth as a tourist area. We will see all sorts of creatures not coming and going. Some reside among us because Earth is a beautiful place to be. We are citizens of one universe, not anymore citizens of one nation or one planet. And we have to get used to this. We see tourists as they come, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Arabs, and the rest we've seen since 1970s and 80s when tourism becomes so popular. And now once we open up the door of the tourism, we become peaceful nation. As one nation, we'll see tourists from all over the universe coming to see this beautiful planet. When you go and see the beauty of Avatar in China, when you see the mountains and the waterfalls in Canadian border, and you see the beautiful jungles of Africa, this is not the exclusivity of the man. It's the beauty of the Creator and open to all his citizens. One day, in a very near future, I will explain the reason why Earth has been chosen in this way for many things. It's because of its beauty, and why human race is used for setting the presence for the physicality and soul elevation in the universe. This all will be made clear very, very soon.
Mr. Keshe, there's a man on Earth called Elon Musk, who happens to be now the richest man on the planet. And he's currently giving away some of his riches. And he wants to split it into two different streams. One is projects to help humanity, and the other is for going to Mars, because that's always been his dream, is to retire on Mars. I'm wondering what advice you might give him, or what you could offer as some connection with the Keshe Foundation that he might take to heart.
He almost already knows about the Keshe Foundation. And if there wasn't a pressure from Illuminatis and scientific organizations who want to keep the status quo, situation will be different. In a very recent conversation in the past few days, I've been enlightened how European Community Scientific Group has blocked the Keshe Foundation since 2009. And even legal steps have been taken to stop the growth of the technology, and there are documents for it. I was not surprised or shocked, but it was a confirmation, and the documents for it are promised to be made available to us. That the technology is so revolutionary that the man cannot understand, and European scientific groups who are responsible for introduction of new technologies even start taking legal actions to stop the development of the Keshe technology in Europe. And what we saw in what we had is part of that process. Now we understand why that process was taken that way. The people who are members of this board have broken rank and start getting in touch with the Keshe Foundation to show now that they're amongst listeners in different channels. That now that they have seen how the technology is being taught, they made a decision in 2021 to open the books of how we've been blocked by scientific organizations as they see what they call the scientific knowledge challenge. And in so many ways, this will stop a lot of things which groups or influential groups that they were planning to do things has blocked their way. So people like you must use your money to support whatever you like, but at the end of it, they know this technology or technology which uses the process of usage of the fields of the universe is the ultimate goal of any science. We have shown a way to it, and they can do whatever they like. It's not philanthropists through becoming rich. Keshe Foundation and the knowledge seekers have been philanthropists by sharing knowledge freely from the beginning of the establishment of the Keshe Foundation. Usually people become philanthropists when they become rich, and then they try to give. We went the wrong way or the right way in a way to them. That we were philanthropists from the beginning. We shared that everybody gets the riches and the benefit from the day one of the establishment of the Keshe Foundation. If you look at it the way you teach, you are one of the biggest humanitarian philanthropists in the world, the way you're helping with Corona and the rest of it. Which organization does this? Which knowledge seekers or any followers of any company or whatever does? We have to find finances for you to help someone with the Corona, or you're teaching it freely, you're delivering your gases freely. You're already knowledge philanthropists. What these people try to get with publicity. And the same way you teach the knowledge and share the wealth. The true wealth is with the knowledge seekers who share the knowledge. True wealth doesn't come from philanthropists, from millions from the bank. Any other question?
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. Good answer. Let me see if we have any hands up right now. Any hands up? We do have a number of questions in the Q&A. Let's have a look at those. Beatrice again asking what's the difference between the soul of physicality and that of the soul of man? What makes them different?
Always in all the teachings, go back to all the teachings. It's in there somewhere. Big difference.
Yeah, I've explained that a few times, I think, for maybe just for people that aren't used to those teachings, I suppose, would need an explanation. And that could take some time.
Quite a long time.
Let's go on to Manes, who says, when the body dies of illness, what happens to the soul that has not come to the end of its duration of maturity?
The body comes to duration of maturity when the illness sets in. It's like an emergency path opens up. It's very simple. You'll see it. People become wise. People who are said they've got a month or years to live. They change their behavior. They change their lifestyle. They change a lot of things, or they become aggressive, whatever. That process, when it's given the life cycle, it starts processing itself to be ready for that departure. It's not that it's going to be like a suicide. This is it, then it's going to kill. Even in the time of accidents, when somebody dies, the process speeds up. In that process, that everything to be delivered to elevate the soul where it was supposed to be planned to be at a given position, even it could be by the plan of the souls, will gather together to be delivered to the soul, to be, it's like, emergency pack. The soul takes what is embedded within the soul of every cell for its final destination. Elevation has been already predetermined. It's like, I have to go, whether it's there, I have to pack. This is well understood in the work and the structure of the, what we call, universal work of the souls and energies.
Okay, we've got a question from Akbar. Says, hello from Iran. How can we understand the strength of the different metals for creating new ganses and using them in the 5 cups?
It's very easy. Understand how you made the gases. Then you understand the strength of them and how to utilize them. Copy is one of the easiest things to do. Because, for example, if you make the gases and you have the gas of the element, and you can create the matter from it, then you have understood the strength of the soul and the plasma of that matter, or the material. This is how we run the enhancement units for creation of matter. We create the soul of the element. And that soul has certain field strength. And as one is created, it completes, it becomes, if it needs to move the presence of the inertia fields into the matter state of that field. We don't need to keep on changing things. You've seen this in your gas production unit. You create once the field strength of the carbon between the plates of the zinc and copper, and that field created once, it pulls in all the amino acids from the environment, which is at that strength. You don't need to keep on producing it. You create a field of it. So any amino acid combination which is at that strength will be absorbed to that position, will be created, manifested at that position on the surface of the water. We do the same thing with creation of matters. We create the soul, the field energy strength, and then in interaction with the gravitational magnetic field of the earth, it manifests itself as an amino acid. Very, very simple. Any other question? Hello, Rick. Are we there?
Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Sorry about my mic. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead,
Can
Magdalene.
I could ask some questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is this from the Chinese community?
Actually, we had a discussion for the 5 cups and the soul cups for last week, and we have a lot of question or discussion. So about what you mentioned, your soul must be modest, must be very low, so that you can receive the receive energy from your soul cup. And here we are a little bit confusing. We think our
It's very easy to confuse Chinese, isn't it?
yes, yes.
When it comes to these matters, because you believe in yin and yang, it's got to be in one or the other.
Yeah, but modest is an emotion, or is a strength of the soul, or a physical soul?
It's a combination of the both.
Both.
Yeah, it's very simple. You have and you give and you take what you need. This was originally discussed centuries ago in a different way by earth scientists, what we call where does the magnetic and gravitational field of the earth changes in the center of the earth. And till now that we experience the same field as it goes through, there is no change of south pole to north pole, gravity to magnetical. And the rate of the repulsion, or what we call magnetical, comes from what gravitational brings and collective fields within the structure of the earth can give to maintain its stability of all its souls of every cell on it. When we get the magnetic field from the North Pole at every second, every time released from more coming out of the North Pole, is collective fields of what is being received, what is needed by Earth, and what the rest have to give that it can confirm its existence. In a way, if you look at it, in the human body, in a certain strength, we eat from the bath. In the planetary system, we eat from both ends. And depending on the strength of which way the repulsion or attraction is stronger, it takes prominence in showing itself. And we eat from the South Pole of the higher, lower order strength. And by what is inside, it goes through our digestion system in the human body, and what fields we do not need, we release into the environment, be it as an aura, be it as excrement, be it as whatever. The solar, a planet uses the poles to reject what it doesn't need from what is digested, from the interaction of the fields which has arrived from the south, plus what is arrived from the north of the higher order gravitational field, or lower order from the north's magnetical field's repulsion. It's a living process. And where does the consciousness or decision come into it? Is collectively what we do not need, we repel. In a way, if mankind looks at the structure of the South and North Pole in a higher strength order repulsion from the north, we understand the body of the man absorbs more from his environment that can continuously feed more out in the North Pole and the strongest strength. It's not just a simple process. In so many ways, when we look at the structure, and then would it be evolution, or would it be understanding, is that with the North Pole, we always say we receive. And we could never understand that the North Pole is X plus an extra strength. We know this from the interaction of the temperature with the field interaction of the North Pole with its environment, which is slightly higher in temperature than the South. But where does this extra continuously come? We continuously absorb fields from our environment in different shape and form. And what is needed to maintain the integrity of the planet is held, and the rest through the even recycling and residual fields added to be taken out. Our North Pole is the human body in reverse upside down, if you look at it that way. But As body of the man absorbs 80% of his energy from his environment, the earth is the same. He absorbs huge amount of energy from his environment in every direction, as much as it gives out. And how it gives out. The inclination on the angle of the earth creates we see the line of the deserts. If we didn't have this inclination, the line of desert should have been the totality of the planet in so many ways. Balanced fields. But now if you look and follow the line of the deserts, you see it has a very close alignment with the inclination of the poles. Because it's where the fields come in and they accumulate. We find a balanced conditions of fields which does not allow so much creation of vegetation. It's balanced in the vertical people. This is understanding of how we bring the science in line to understanding what we call theology and understanding of the creation. It's the same with our soul. It's the same with the soul of the Creator. We absorb much more, and what we absorb more, we release. It's like when you eat too much. Planets cannot get fat. They get fat because they're absorbing more and more to increase the layers on the surface. But on the other hand, the field energies has to be released for what is not converted from fields into matter on the surface of the planet. As the fields arrive, going through, if they are converted, they become different matters. And what is not converted, after change, it'll go through, added to what is coming from the south. And that's why what we call the North Pole or the rejection is more than what we take in. But that's in field strengths. It's what we call mutation of elements, mutation of energy fields. What mutation is in fields will happen into elements up to the surface and maybe within the layers of the earth layers, even within the magma, even within the central core. And what energies which does not fit the position and the strength of the field of the earth will move out through the flow fields of the magnetic field of the planet itself. As was discussed, I think even yesterday in the Farsi teaching, if some of you have really observed and you made the right ganses in a very right order and you close the cup and you marked your water level, you'll find out after a few weeks or months, your mind level increases and say, how come? Because the cup has created a field inside because of the magnetic field of the container, which is now inside the container, not the same as the earth. It's got gases in it. It pulls in, and because of the presence of water, it creates molecules of water, converts within it, and you see the rise in your level. Because now your cup has become a converter of energy to matter state in the liquid state. Many of you must have observed this. Especially, we see this a lot with the people who do the CO2. If you put your jars and mark it and leave it, you'll see a rise in the level of the water. Because now your system has become exactly your what I call the gas production unit. You create a field, which here is the created field of H2O. So any fields around there which might match as they're crossing the glass and everything else will add to your water level, because now you're converting. Yes, what's the other question?
From Alfred, he had mentioned, have you heard about inrupt.com, INRUPT,
No.
which may become the new internet? Says Tim Berners-Lee is involved in this, as many other leading independent techs. I do note that there's rumors that the internet could get shaky or have a reset of some sort. And there seems to be a lot going on with that in the next week or so. I don't know about this.
We have no knowledge. This you have to ask the IT people.
Okay. Randy asks, we saw some pictures earlier with the dried GANs, with the new GANs plasma water, GANs drying and plasma water extractor. So he says, what is the dried GANs used for?
For a lot of applications. One of the reasons we dry the ganses is because liquid GANs is hard to transport across borders. So when we use in the dry form, it's the same more or less. You can always back add it to the water, stays in its own structure. It won't become like a GANs as you see it, but it still releases the same energy. It's used in many different ways. We deliberately use it for different applications. And is one of the best ways to store gases without more or less converting into different energy and colors. It'll happen very little of it, but if you notice when you have a liquid gas, you have it green today, maybe in a few weeks' time it will go red or whatever. In the process of drying, we try to solidify it in that form. And it has huge applications. And gas water you extract with this method is not by boiling, it's by dehumidifying, which means the gas water you can use is pure. Because in most of your gas waters you drink, you still have particles of gas floating in it. And this is a very effective way to do it, and it allows us, this is very effective for production of the gases of what they call vegetables and herbs, because if we create gases of it and then we take it up, is one of the most effective ways to do it. It has a lot of application in the Keshe Foundation work. In the system which we'll introduce in the next couple of weeks, we will introduce environmental system where, for example, you can put the system in a greenhouse and increase the growth of, let's say, tomatoes. Specifically designed systems will insert and increase vegetation growth and the rest of it. This unit will be announced and be shown most probably by next week. And at the same time, you can use it like a humidifier, but changing very much has been done in research in Iran, in offices and in hospitals and the rest.
Okay, we have a question from Raphael regarding some of your earlier work with reactors. He says, who do you think are these beings, souls, that were interacting with the work of your reactors while testing that you could observe through the small window in the reactors?
We create most of them. If you look into the window and you see the operation of the reactors, we create continuous homogeneous turbulences, which brings given field strength together, which in the interaction, they colonize a certain point or certain area within the reactor. And then we'll see their effect and operation. We are the creator of it. This is what I say all the time, even in the lab. Every time you set a system, pray for it, because you create a line of connection. You are the creator of it. And it's important to understand this.
Turbulences was sort of a key word in there that was interesting.
Yeah, because we create many macro turbulences in respect to the dimension of the reactor. The uranium reactor has one of the best windows because I've seen a lot of things in it. And one of the first reactors we produced is like a blue dome, has a specific window, and it creates it's a nuclear-based reactor, and it's a space development. And with it, because of the rapid field delivery of the radioactive material, we see huge mutation in elements in energies. And we see existence, we see field balances. Any other question?
From Thomas, who says, if the UFO in Tehran was seen by the inhabitants of Earth, is that not in itself an intrusion into the humanity?
Not really. Travelers do not intrude. They are passerbys. But don't forget, Earth is a position of transit. But sometimes these transit positions might be a stay for centuries. As centuries to the man of universe is nothing. If your 1 year on your planet is 1 million years of earthly years, so if you're here for 100 years, for 1,000 years is nothing. It's a fraction of your lifetime in your place, and if in your place you live 100 years or 200 years, it's like 100 million years. And so it's a short-term visit or a stay. Mankind will come to understand this very, very quickly, very soon, now that we have opened this door and this window of knowledge.
Yeah, question from Antonio. Mr. Keshe, is the nervous system the connecting link between the soul and our physicality?
A physical connection, yes. But soul has a field dimension too. The nerve system is for a physical soul of a cell or environment of cells, where the soul has its own direct contact or due to interaction of the fields with every cell in the body of the man. Neural system and the blood circulation are the two fields that the interaction between them, the field interaction between them, leads to creation of the cell due to the field inertia of the environment they create. The way the fields of the sun interaction with the magnetic field of the earth create the matters around the earth. You need the earth and the sun fields to create it. So does the nerve and the blood system. And this is the most fundamental knowledge which the most of medicine have not understood, have failed to understand this, and this is the cornerstone of most of the problems in the science of medicine on this planet. Nerve system carries a certain strength field, and so does the blood. And the interaction of these two, if you look at the structure of the nerve system and blood circulation, you see a lot of similarities, where one comes from the brain and the other one comes from the heart, pumping area, the headquarters. And as we said in earlier teaching today, the heart and the soul interact. And this is why we have emotional illnesses so prevalent in the life of the man, because the emotional fields which come from the brain will interact with what comes from the physical, which is the blood, and they produce the cell within the body of the man. It's not just that you have a nerve system and blood system. If you can show the parallel system together, you understand how your bodies are created, how the cells in your body is created. The two run parallel with each other because their distance, their position, their interaction, and the field they carry within them, it dictates the cell which is created in that position and the cell. This is why if you go back to the original teaching, we said the body of the man, the blood of the body of the man is taxi-designated cell system, which means a cell in the blood is responsible for a cell in the body of the man, or combination of the cells which carry the same strength for a given position and place. And the neural system just bring the fields which converts it from the fields through the lymph into the matter state. You need the two blood and the what we call neural system fields that in the interaction with the lymph converts into energy needed or the matter state which is needed in a given position. Lymph is the inertial field forces which carries the material for construction. And the field interaction between the blood and the nerve decides what is going to be constructed, because the shape of the nerve as a given position and the blood circulation dictates the fields needed to be created. This is one of the reasons you have the phantom pain when you lose your arm or leg can't get amputation. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Beatrice has another question. Why is hydrogen important to be more alkaline?
Hydrogen is more acidic. It gives more energy. In a way, by being so acidic, it becomes alkaline. Hydrogen is a source of energy in so many ways, as is trying to absorb more fields to itself to become deuterium. It brings fields and energies to its area, which are not needed by it, but are essential to the other cycle of life in their environment.
Perhaps an example of that would be when we eat or drink lemon, then even though it's an acid, citric acid, it tends to turn alkaline in the body, or it creates an alkaline reaction to the body.
Depends how you want to describe it.
Well, you were mentioning that the hydrogens sometimes turn from the acidic to alkaline, becomes so acidic that it comes around to alkaline.
It is the increase in alkalineness, it brings the wedge to acidic, and extreme from acidic brings to alkaline. It just change of the field. Suddenly instead of giving, it becomes absorber.
So can that happen with souls? That in particular, I'm thinking of, say, world leaders. Can they turn from maybe a lifetime of being acidic to suddenly turning alkaline, or even vice versa?
Yes, has happened many times. It's change of emotion.
And that would be part of the elevation, or is that a different
What do you mean?
part of elevation of the soul?
It could be elevation and elevation, depends which way you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
What is to get and what is being attained.
Dziękuję za obejrzenie. Jeśli ktoś chciałby zadać pytanie lub odpowiedzieć na czyjeś pytanie lub powiedzieć coś w kwestii tego warsztatu, to zapraszam. Jeśli nie ma pytań i wypowiedzi, to na dzisiaj skończymy. Tak więc dziękuję za uwagę. Zapraszam na kolejne spotkanie. To były 434 warsztaty poszukiwaczy wiedzy w języku polskim z niedzieli 24 stycznia 2021 roku. Do usłyszenia i dobrej nocy.
Nadszedł czas zmiany, przejścia do prawdziwego działania wszechświata. I nadszedł czas, aby zrozumieć, że używamy stanu materii, by osiągnąć poziom zrozumienia duszy człowieka. Teraz rozumiesz, być może, dlaczego Kreator wysłał swoich posłańców w imię tego, co miałeś. To oni przynoszą uszy, aby można było ich użyć, gdy nadejdzie czas Mesjasza. Mogę nauczyć duszę i przesłanie. Nie by się przeciwstawiać, ale poprzez ich zrozumienie przez tych, którzy stali się Mesjaszami, aby dawać ze swoich dusz, aby ich elewować. Zadanie stało się łatwe. Szkoła jest tutaj i uczniowie są tutaj w oddaniu. Wtedy nie będzie żadnej walki między tym, co nazywają muzułmanami a chrześcijanami. Baranek i lew będą jeść i spać w tym samym gnieździe. Chrześcijanie i muzułmanie będą spać i modlić się w meczecie, w tym samym kościele, w imię ich dusz, nie w imię religii, które są używane do tworzenia tak wielu konfliktów, dla korzyści tych, którzy byli hiperaktywnymi dziećmi. Nadszedł czas zmian jest tutaj. I jak powiedziałem, Moje życzenie jest moim rozkazem. Jeśli pragniesz ujrzeć pokój, droga pokoju jest wyłożona bardzo wyraźnie. To dusza świadomości zbiorowej. Poprzez dawanie stworzy tą pozycję zmiany. Nic innego. W duszy człowieka nie ma długopisu. Jestem pewien, że po wejściu do społeczności uniwersalnej nigdy nie zobaczysz niczego zapisanego, ale równowagę pól duszy egzystencji. Staraj się być na tyle pokornym, aby nie stać się aroganckim w mocy, którą zrozumiałeś i posiadłeś. Inaczej wpadniesz w tą samą ścieżkę kościoła i meczetu. To jest to, co obiecaliśmy i to właśnie dostarczyliśmy. Musimy zrozumieć działanie duszy i musimy zrozumieć, że dusza człowieka jest gwiazdą w kosmosie wszechświata. Jeśli porównamy duszę człowieka i tak wielu nas, 7 miliardów w jednym zbiorze, Ziemia jest jak galaktyka z tak wieloma gwiazdami. Kiedy patrzymy w głąb wszechświata, widzimy galaktyki z setkami milionów gwiazd. Podobnie jest z planetą Ziemią. Niesie 7 miliardów pięknych gwiazd, które są duszą człowieka. Niesie z sobą duszę tak wielu trylionów zwierząt, roślin i wszystkiego innego. Jeśli więc patrzą ci, którzy nie widzą fizyczności Ziemi i jej zawartości, co widzą? Widzą galaktykę z wielką ilością pięknych, świecących świateł. Każda według swojej siły. Każda zgodnie ze swoją pozycją. Niemowlę ma piękną duszę, podobnie jak staruszek. Dla tych niefizycznych, którzy nie widzą fizycznego wymiaru tej planety, ale widzą siłę pola, jesteśmy gromadami gwiazd. Ludzka rasa, każda pojedyncza dusza, nikt z daleka nie widzi. To jest dusza rybaka, to jest dusza kosmologa, to jest dusza prezydenta. Wszystkie świecą bez względu na fizyczność. To jest magia. Oto co nowa nauka musi przynieść człowiekowi. Kiedy patrzymy przez naszą duszę, widzimy tylko gwiazdy w innych duszach. I to jest przełom, to jest zrozumienie. Na tym właśnie polegają te wszystkie nauki. Dojście do dojrzałości następnego poziomu, aby zrozumieć daleki kosmos. Wszechświat jest ostrygą dla tych dusz, które służą. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy do wejścia w kosmos. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy, aby stać się częścią uniwersalnej społeczności, która została obiecana. Nigdy nie obiecywałem wam nieba. Zawsze obiecywałem wam elewację człowieka, aby przyłączył się do rodziny. A teraz macie klucz. To wy musicie otworzyć drzwi, aby zrozumieć, że mogę elewować duszę tych ludzi lub milionów innych dusz. Że fizyczne życie na tej planecie zmieni się. Wtedy jestem godny bycia częścią społeczności uniwersalnej. By być, aby służyć, aby się rozwijać, by być tam, aby być częścią, że w cyklu życia wszechświata staje się w byciu częścią, staje się częścią totalności. Kiedy człowiek osiągnie ten punkt, pojawi się nowy wymiar w sile duszy człowieka. który jest poza wyobrażeniem zrozumienia życia fizycznego. To jest brama do otwarcia nowego życia w nowym wymiarze, co jest poza wyobrażeniem tego, co mogliście nazwać nowym początkiem, nowym cyklem, gdzie ten cykl niesie ze sobą źródło stworzenia życia we wszechświecie i unikosie. To jest elewacja duszy, aby służyć. Stała się kluczem. Nie tron życia fizycznego. Czas jest odpowiedni, nadszedł czas, aby człowiek przeszedł przez ten proces.